he's going to be sent back and he's going to be in some pretty serious trouble, it seems. He doesn't seem totally aware of that reality yet, that he's probably not going to be allowed to stay.
El Paso, Texas, is a bustling border city at the heart of the US migrant crisis.
The smugglers, they don't care. They just don't care. They're getting paid anyway. So whether the migrant makes it or he doesn't, they're gonna get paid.
Every day, migrants from all over the world attempt to enter the United States here. Some legally, some illegally.
There was a report of one or two individuals at Ardovino's parking lot. Okay, let's go.
Through their buildings, coming from.
Migrants being held for ransom, kidnapped against their will, call their family members, and they're requesting, the smuggling fees are increased.
For the smugglers and the cartels, El Paso is a place to earn some serious money.
I'm talking about a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
For the US authorities, it's somewhere to protect at all costs.
They put hundreds of miles of concertina wire. They are controlling the asylum cases because it gets totally out of hand.
It's a hugely polarizing topic.
So Trump won because he said that he was going to build a wall. Biden won because he said he was going to fix immigration.
With no obvious solution.
And I think that the United States has every right, as does every other country, to vet those people coming into their country, but that doesn't mean that we have to demonize and villainize everyone.
It's become a desperate situation, and for many, a matter of life or death.
We found more than 3 individuals dead in the desert.
What happens if you don't pay?
Pues muchas veces le pasa a uno lo peor.
A message come in over walkie-talkie essentially, that there's a group of maybe 6, 7, 8 migrants just come across.
These are illegals, foreign nationals from outside the United States coming across the border from Mexico, without permission or paperwork to do so.
Been advised via radio that there's a presence of at least 8 individuals that are setting up for the illegal entry. We already have the helicopter close to that area, and we have a unit also on site. Okay, well, let's see if we can go there.
We're on a ride along with El Paso Border Patrol, and it's their job to intercept the migrants.
With people coming across, this isn't a spur-of-the-moment decision for them. Have they been planning this for a while?
For years.
For years. And so really what we're about to come across is sort of the biggest day of someone's life, in a way. Wow.
Biggest and sometimes the saddest.
Biggest and sometimes saddest, yeah.
But before we can get there, there's an update.
Turnbacks, they just call them turnbacks. Presence of the helicopter is there. It's gonna be difficult for them to decide to cross us. They're just gonna wait.
There's another call, this time about a smaller group of migrants. This is the work of the Mexican cartels. They deliberately create chaos for the US authorities, making it easier to smuggle people through the gaps.
There was a report of 1 or 2 individuals at Ardovino's parking lot. We have some agents on site already, so horse patrol unit is there. Yes.
They got them with this probably from the facility.
So from before, there was a call about maybe 8 or 10, and then they retreated. Now got a call about 1 or 2 people who'd been spotted in this parking lot where we are now. There's a whole bunch of people who have arrived.
Our agents were reported two individuals that enter illegally. They come through this area right here.
Okay.
They went down from the mountain and they just got into that area on the back of this fence.
And then we find them, two males who have traveled across the border separately.
They are willing to talk with you guys. I'm gonna translate off camera, right?
Hello. Hi.
Hola.
I'm sorry I don't speak Spanish. How are you today?
Pues bien, lo que cabe bien.
Where have you come from?
De Parral, Chihuahua, la tierra de Villa,
How long have you been traveling for?
para acá. 8 días.
How are you treated by the people getting you here?
No, realmente no pagamos nada, ¿no? Pues hasta ya que lo brincas es cuando paga uno, ¿verdad?
You haven't paid.
No.
What happens if you don't pay?
Sometimes it's the worst. that
Really?
happen.
Pues muchas veces le pasa a uno lo peor.
It's 6 a.m. We're with Border Patrol, the agency responsible for securing the boundaries of the United States.
As you can see, we're very, very close from the border itself. Minutes away from the border before those migrants can get into the community itself.
And disappear here, essentially.
Yes, at the end of the day, the smugglers are being telling them that that's the fastest way to escape from authority, right? They just start running, heading to the community, jump into a house, and try to get away with it. As you can tell, the residents, they know who we are. They're pretty much seeing us every single day. And most of the times they just directly call us and tell us, that I have 5 people in my backyard.
They'll try and get a ladder over this.
Yes, correct. They try to slide on this side of the border by grabbing the poles of the barrier. These are made of metal and of course concrete inside on the middle. And with the friction itself and with the heat, that we have seen recently.
Rip your hand off.
Yeah, they use some gloves.
This is the 18-foot high.
Yes, this is 18 foot
And it's
high.
still so big. It's so
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah, it is.
Agent Herrera takes us to the spot in the mountains where the migrant from Chihuahua crossed over the border.
As you can see, this is the border between United States and Mexico. There's no border fence, and that's Mexico. It goes all the way towards through the other side of this mountain. What divides both countries is main road, right?
And that's
The
it.
dirt
It's
road.
literally it.
That's it.
It's standing with 1 foot in
Exactly.
2 country.
And this is a very rocky terrain
Yeah.
with high cliffs. We have seen multiple injuries from migrants themselves when they're crossing these mountains.
And making it a desirable place to cross, but it doesn't make it any less dangerous.
Exactly. Also, transnational criminal organizations, they try to do whatever it takes for them to get away with it, try to get away with it. That's the reality. Always willing to endanger those migrants that have paid a huge amount of money for them to be crossed illegally. And at the end of the day, they're only placing them in danger.
Is it appropriate to ask how much is paid? Or?
$7,000
$7,000.
por solamente trabajando aquí, porque de otra
You
manera.
have to be able to get a job to be able to pay that fee. And if that fee isn't paid, there's going to be consequences. Wow.
So he's in debt.
He's in debt. He doesn't have the money to do it.
Sí, porque de hecho allá pues nunca los junta uno, pa.
How long have you been planning this journey?
Pues la mera verdad tengo todo el año pa.
A year. Was there a big thing that happened that made you make this decision?
No, pues realmente, pues como les digo, es que ahí en el pueblo donde vivo yo, existe la mafia, ¿verdad? Y no
Because
dejan,
there's gang units, and in the place where I work, and they don't let us work. They're always controlling the
Honradamente no dejan
territory.
trabajar a uno. Y nomás no les gusta algo o no les parece, y como le digo,
And something that it's, they don't like, they're gonna take you out.
Siempre lo quieren tener uno con la parte en el
They always
cuello.
want to have you underneath of your food.
Who makes the rules in Chihuahua?
¿Quién es la autoridad?
The mafia.
El Chapo.
When you say Chapo, is that mafia? I mean,
There is a criminal lord.
criminal lord.
Yeah. Drug lord
Okay.
from the cartel of Sinaloa.
Okay.
From here, they believe they still have access to.
He's in the prison, but he still is.
That's
in
what
charge.
he believes.
Okay.
Joaquin Guzman, known by his Spanish nickname El Chapo or Shorty, is one of the most notorious and violent drug lords in the world.
El Chapo, who was captured in Mexico and extradited to the U.S. in 2016. He is currently serving a life sentence in a maximum security prison after being convicted of drug trafficking, money laundering, and weapons charges.
If he comes back.
If he comes back, he's going to be in a lot of danger.
Aquí siente uno más seguro que en la tierra de uno.
Here, you feel more secure, more safe than in our own territory, our own country.
I don't know why there is so much adrenaline running through me now, just in that one moment. I'm speaking so casually and almost, truly, his spirits are surprisingly high for someone who's been through a really grueling 8-day journey. And I'm not sure why that's had such an extreme effect on me, that conversation. As someone who has been pushed from their home due to sheer desperation and actually seems very happy to be here.
What they're doing right now is a mobile intake. Once the processing intake is complete, and he's going to be placed in removal proceedings under Title 8.
Is he going to be sent back?
More likely. And those are the things that we're trying to, to voice, constantly.
Yeah.
There are consequences by you coming illegally in through the country under Title 8, and you will be removed
Right.
out of the country. So.
And do you think that actually they are really not aware of those consequences when they?
Sometimes they're not aware.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just like, we're convinced by somebody else,
Yeah.
they can make it. But this is the reality,
Yeah.
We're seeing it every day.
So they said it. It's more than likely that he will be sent back pretty quickly, and he said that he is in debt, $7,000. He won't be able to pay that unless he is here and gets a job. He's going to be sent back and he's going to be in some pretty serious trouble, it seems. He doesn't seem totally aware of that reality yet, that he's probably not going to be allowed to stay.
Quite often, it's the families of the migrants that have paid these extortionate fees, but the transaction comes with little guarantee of safety or success.
The smugglers, they don't care. They just don't care. They're getting paid anyway. So whether the migrant makes it or he doesn't, they're gonna get paid.
It doesn't matter if they don't get the fee if they cross the border, they get the fee regardless.
Exactly.
And human life doesn't matter to them.
I'm talking about a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
How much does the average smuggler earn?
We have heard ranges from the $18,000 to $6,000 per person.
Per person? How are people getting connected and understanding and being put in touch with these people to create that journey?
Exactly. That's why we call them transnational criminal organizations, because we have learned that they're just not smugglers trying to cross migrants across the border illegally. It is an entire network of connections that they have, not only in South America or Mexico, but other countries in the world.
A few years ago when we were all hearing about these detainment camps and children were being separated from their parents, is that still happening? Is that still the case?
This is not the case anymore. We have a high priority to maintain or keep those family units together at all times. We need to make sure that they have enough documentation to prove that they're a family.
That they are actually a family, that these are their children.
Because we have seen some situations in the past also where smugglers utilize some kids to bring with a family, and they end up not being part of a family.
Right.
2021 was a record year for unaccompanied minors crossing the border, with over 23,000 children processed by Border Patrol agents.
These two girls were encountered as a part of a group of 7 migrants total. Our agents determined that these two girls had no other family members with the group, so that's why they were treated as unaccompanied children.
Not that long ago, we had a situation when our agents here apprehended a group. In between that group, there was a female that she claimed that her little daughter was taken away from her by the smugglers across the border. We take her into custody, and of course we, inform every law enforcement agency out there, even to the government of Mexico, start looking for that little children. A day later, around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, we had a sensor activation in a mountain. When our agents respond, they found a 2-year-old little girl in the middle of nowhere.
On her own?
On her own. That little kid happened to be the daughter of that female that we had found a later prior.
What had happened to? Why was she alone? Why had she just been abandoned?
The smugglers don't care.
They don't. So smugglers will take a 2-year-old kid away from their mother and then just abandon them.
Yes, that's who we're dealing with.
That's that
every single
level.
day.
That's a level of evil.
It really is.
That's a level of evil.
It really is. She was able to reunite with her mother, but for some reason, the smugglers they just decide to split them apart.
The border between the United States and Mexico stretches for more than 2,000 miles. Here in the El Paso sector, federal agents are responsible for around 260 miles. And without doubt, the work they do carries a heavy burden.
We have a good saying in the patrol that it's at the end of the day, you want to go safe back home to your family. We're humans. We're family members, part of this community. We're enforcing the immigration law, and we're seeing individuals being placed in dangerous positions and doing whatever it takes, even putting ourselves in danger to be able to rescue that individual.
And maybe actually what I didn't understand at all is that there seems to be this idea that people who are working in Border Patrol are like local vigilantes wanting to stop this, and there's some kind of enjoyment that's got from it, or there's so not the case that there is a huge amount of compassion. And actually the trauma, because you're having to see human life at the extreme, and the toll that takes on you as an individual shouldn't be underestimated.
We need to be able to make those split of a second decisions. We're always willing to stop whatever we're doing, and that life in need is a priority.
It feels really hard having an opinion on this because I'm so far removed from it. It makes me appreciate how fortunate I am to live in a country where I'm safe and I'm not fleeing persecution. And it sounds so simple to say that, but I think I've only sort of probably begun thinking about it today, being so starkly confronted with it.
The US state of Texas is deeply conservative, but El Paso goes against the grain and is known for the compassion and care it offers those coming its way. Michael DeBrule is a former Border Patrol agent who now runs a migrant shelter at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Segundo Barrio.
This is a 24-hour shelter, and it's an emergency shelter, much like all the shelters here in El Paso. People are generally here like 2 to 5 days. And then this is really just a respite chance to kind of stop, rest a bit. We give them clothes if they need it. They take showers. They contact their sponsors, etc. It's just a bit of a rest before they move on, continue northward.
Does anybody arrive here in severe distress?
Yes, I mean, the thing is that I really feel like all the people that arrive at our door have gone through a lot of stressful situations during their trip. Human condition is such that We hide trauma and stress very well.
We do.
But there will be some instances, for example, there was a family that got here and they had lost their mother during the trip to the Darien. Or there have been a couple of times where there have been miscarriages. The last time a woman was here, her husband was detained and she had a miscarriage, and so it was very difficult for her.
In June of this year, US President Joe Biden issued an executive order aimed at curbing record levels of migrants crossing the US border from Mexico. At its peak, more than 2,000 people were crossing every day, overwhelming many of the city's resources. Under the executive order, officials can quickly remove migrants illegally entering the US without processing their asylum requests.
Not typically people who've crossed illegally.
All the people in here today have documents. Generally, we're not seeing any of those people since the executive order was signed. I think that they're probably being turned back.
This is clothing?
Yes.
Has this come from donations?
That's right. The Red Cross actually bought us all this shelving, so we got much more organized. We got these racks.
They can basically sort of look through and choose things they want.
Yes. Well, what's interesting is that something I didn't know when I started volunteering at shelters was that, you know, after all the trials and tribulations, the difficulties, etc., I think it's really kind of dehumanizing, you know.
Yeah.
So the simple act of being able to come in here and choose your own clothes is really significant. Retail therapy, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Imagine after, if you've had a journey like so many of them have through jungle and being on foot through Mexico, to have some kind of tangible normalcy, or like something that they understand. The lady here has an ankle bracelet on.
Yes.
Why does she have that?
Well, generally speaking, what's happening is, and we have not been able to figure out kind of who gets the ankle monitors, but usually the head of the family.
It's not everyone gets that, is it?
It seems as if the policy kind of changes sometimes. So now what we're seeing is like the head of the family usually has the ankle bracelet. For a while, it was like all the single males.
At present, Venezuelan migrants are one of the largest nationality groups attempting to reach the US border. Venezuela has been crippled by a deep economic crisis, which has led to a breakdown in democracy and repression of its citizens, all of which has driven record numbers northwards in search of a better life. Outside the shelter, we find migrants that have crossed the border illegally and don't have documentation allowing them to stay inside. Why did you leave Venezuela?
La situación del país.
Can you tell me about the situation?
Pues un poco difícil.
Is it hard to get work, or is it very dangerous to live there?
No hay trabajo.
Have you been looking for work?
Sí, he estado buscando trabajo, pero no he podido conseguir, por lo tanto ando con una menor de edad y como somos nosotras dos, pues no tengo quien me la cuide.
How long did it take you to get from Venezuela to here?
4 meses.
And can you tell me about that journey? What was it like?
Por selva, pues no les recomiendo que se metan por la selva. La selva no es nada bueno para los niños, ya que entrar a la selva es buscar manera de morir o que tu hijo corra peligro.
What was the hardest part of the journey?
México.
Why Mexico?
Porque lo peor y pues se viven muchas cosas en el camino.
Really bad things happened on the way? I'm not sure I want to.
Que a nosotros nos tocó caminar todo México.
And you had to walk across Mexico?
Sí, caminamos por todo México porque ningún autobús nos quería agarrar, le tenía miedo al...
And how did you find the journey from Venezuela?
Desde Venezuela, bueno, difícil porque la selva, como dice mi mamá, no es nada fácil, es lo peor. A veces hay gente que se queda sin comida, gente que se ahoga en los ríos, y ella casi se va por un río.
Local journalist Luis Garcia has covered migrant stories here in El Paso for the past 10 years.
They passed through the Darien Gap, which, for those who don't know, is a huge piece of jungle, which is the most dangerous bit of jungle in the world.
That is the only way to go to the United States. So it's a place where I have heard stories really, really bad stories where migrants, they go in big groups. Not most of them make it out of the jungle. There have been some migrants that tell me that you can see bodies on the sides while you're walking. There are a lot of criminals in the jungle that sometimes they rape the women and the kids in front of the parents. And like she said, it's not a place for, not even for a little kid, for anyone. Those who made it out of the jungle, sometimes they made it out without anything, and they are not even in the halfway of the big journey that they have to make here. So I think that they are really lucky to make it.
I didn't want to push her for specifics. And she has a little girl.
I mean, sometimes they don't want to talk because they don't want to remember.
Yeah, it's too much.
What they have done. What I noticed in the way that this little girl, Luis, was speaking, she saw a lot of bad things. This whole journey made her more mature that she should be at her age, and that it's gonna mark her for life.
It's really difficult to comprehend from my experience, from having grown up where I live, exactly what these people have been through in order to come to America. Just the sheer magnitude of this journey, how bad it must be in their country of origin that they have actively made the choice to make a journey that they know is going to be really difficult. Parents bringing kids across, little tiny kids, a little girl we met must maybe 9 or 10. What they have had to experience, what they've been through, and what they will carry with them for the rest of their lives.
El Paso is 80% Hispanic, which probably goes a long way to explaining the openness with which the city welcomes migrants, because of its unique geographic location. The historic Segundo barrio is a fusion of Mexico and America, with a distinct binational identity that is entirely its own.
One of the things that we'll go through here, things is really hard to describe and to talk about El Paso is because it has so much history.
Jesus Chimmy is a Chicano artist who paints murals about Mexican-American history.
So this one, it's a little bit of a story of Segundo Barrio. Of course, you see how it's aged and everything. These two gentlemen are from this community.
These are real people here.
These are real people here. And, it just tells a little bit of story of how some of our people came to the United States by crossing this particular bridge, which we call El Puente Negro. Now, the image is from when we didn't have a border wall. We have some of that, so it represents the community, migrant community here. And most of us that grew up in this community, we grew up in tenements or apartment complexes. We had 12 families in one of those.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing of that is that we had 12 families, but there was only 4 restrooms that we could use. This is not my mural. This is a mural painted by another artist.
Okay.
Carlos Callejo. This is actually one of my favorite murals because it talks a lot about the community here. The mural in itself talks about being Chicano, being Mexican-American here. You have that fence, right? That's representing the border, representing the river. The people that are on top, historical representation of the way that our people used to dress and still dress. But it also, if you notice, they're balancing. They're trying to balance on the fence or on the border. For a lot of us growing up, being Chicano, being Mexican-American, you grow up kind of different because you don't really feel a sense of belonging in Mexico. I was born in Mexico, but I never grew up. I never lived over there.
Yeah.
So when I go to Mexico, even to Juarez, you could hear in my accent, you know, I'm a pocho, that, you know, that I'm not from that community. And of course, when I'm in this community, obviously, I don't look like I'm supposed to be here. So in between, we create our own culture.
Right.
The Chicano Mexican-American culture, you know. We create our own music, we create our own art, you know, to represent ourselves. We create our own food, because we want to taste what we tasted in Mexico, but we don't have the same ingredients, so we kind of you know, adopt.
This balancing act of neither being entirely American, neither being entirely Mexican, but forging your own identity by people.
And that's this community. You know, I think we have people here that still remember the community being part of Mexico. There's a story, and the gentleman says that he fell asleep in Mexico and woke up in the United States because they changed the boundaries. And that's how a lot of people here, you know, feel. You know, we're like 2 blocks away from the original border, and then later it got extended, you know, where the U.S. kind of won some more land.
Do you feel by creating these murals that you're in some way taking back that part of history and giving it a permanent slot?
Our history itself too has been swept under a rug and kept there for a really long time. And that's why we need stuff like this, so that our stories keep being told.
One of the best ways to sample the Mexican influences for ourselves is to visit a Mexican corner store, or a tiendita.
This is one of the jewels of the Segundo Barrio and also Paso, because here in the United States, you know, Paso, it's not usual to have this kind of stores like this Mexican. We only have Circle K's, 7-Elevens, you know, big corporate stores.
And this is like a small business.
Yeah, this is a small family business, and what you're gonna about to see is like a Mexican store.
Let's have a look.
Frutas, tunas from Mexico.
What's that?
That's a tuna. You want to grab one and try it for free?
It is so nice being inside this fridge. It's gonna stay in here.
Yeah. So tuna is a fruit.
Fruit?
It's a very popular one in Mexico. Something funny is that, for example, Coca-Cola is not the same in the United States
That
and
is
in
the
Mexico.
most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
So Mexican Coca-Cola, much better than the American one. Yeah. And of course you have Mexican beer, for example. This one is a very popular.
Which is the best Mexican beer?
For me, this one. Carta Blanca. This presentation is called Caguama. So Caguama is really good to drink on front of your house. Yeah, you know. We call it banqueteras because banqueta means sidewalk.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know what? So let's just get some banquetera. Let's just get something to drink on the sidewalk. And Pacifico, yeah.
So it's a big bottle, so you can be there for a while.
Yeah.
Let me look down here.
I mean, but you have to drink it fast because it's gonna get hot. So it's gonna get warm. So
it's sidewalk beer.
Sidewalk beer. I love that.
Is this the chamoy you were talking about? Chamoy.
that chamoy.
Oh my gosh, this is the pickle! I've been looking for the pickle. I've been wanting this pickle. I'm gonna get these for. See, so excited.
Mexico viva.
Yeah. Should I try? I'll try the tunas.
Yeah.
Okay.
From
Tuna.
Mexico, Zacatecas or San Luis.
It's like a very, very tiny watermelon. Yeah. Oh, good.
Not bad to get through, mate.
But that'll sort me out for the next 6 days.
you didn't like the tuna, right?
No, I love it. It was so big. So good. Oh. I've got so many things now, I don't know, I'm so overwhelmed. So overstimulated.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Oh my god, I'm so overwhelmed by taste. I'm not sure what just happened. There's so many things that are happening in my mouth. It's a bit spicy.
Yeah, it's a little bit spicy.
It's got like a little bit of spice. I thought that was gonna be like a big like Cheeto on a stick. Like crunchy. I thought it was gonna be crunchy.
These are good. These are just like tiny watermelons with more flavor. Don't stick a whole one in your mouth at one go, because the US has by far the highest number of immigrants in the world, with close to 50 million people as of 2022. Approximately 3/4 of these people are here legally. Conflict has long been a driving force for those leaving behind their countries of birth, and in recent times this hasn't changed. The ongoing war in Ukraine has seen scores of Russians fleeing their homeland and, somewhat surprisingly, heading for the US. Rustam Soltsev did exactly this in 2022 and now lives in exile in Los Angeles. What were your reasons for leaving Russia in the first place?
Еще до войны я принял решение о том, что я должен встретиться с девушкой. Мы должны были встретиться в Канкуне и провести свой vacation. Я каждый день делал стрим в YouTube и каждый день говорил, что война – это война. За это путинский режим уже назначил наказание за то, что ты просто называешь войну войной.
Okay, and that was remaining in Russia, having in some way spoken against the government or said something that they don't approve of, means that he is in danger in his own country. So it wasn't a choice of going to the US because it was land of hope and glory and the place you wanted to go. It's just because you had no other choice at that point. And that's the journey you had to make.
Да, я просто это все понимал. Наташа, та девушка, с которой я был в Канкуне, она американка, приехавшая когда-то из Украины в Америку 35 лет назад. Она сказала: слушай, я предлагаю тебе быть со мной в Америке, я тебе помогу. И после того, как наш отдых был использован, мы 2 недели были в хорошем отеле, я попрощался с Наташей и поехал в сторону Америки. А Наташа улетела домой.
What was that journey like?
Я летел на самолете, ехал на автобусах, на разных. Я брал такси. Я не знал, что мне делать, каким образом. И просто делал все это наобум или что-то читая в интернете.
Was there anybody helping you across the border? Did you employ somebody to lead you, like a smuggler?
Да, конечно. Я прочел в интернете, что существует такой священник мексиканский, который перевозит людей через границу и отдают их американскому патрулю. И стоит это $800. 800. Я с ним связался, он мне сказал, завтра будет этот переход. Я приехал и с ним познакомился, и мы на машине ехали в какую-то деревню. Она стояла прямо на границе с Аризоной, эта деревня. И в том месте не было этого большого забора. Ты переходишь реку, маленькая река, она называлась Колорадо. И эти местные люди в этой деревне нас переводили уже через эту реку. И они сказали: а теперь идите туда, и вас там будет ждать американский патруль. Туда это было, может быть, 5 километров пешком.
After being detained, Rustam became ill and was moved to a hospital. Luckily for him, it meant his case was fast-tracked and a date was set for an asylum hearing. What were the reasons that you gave for asylum?
Я российский блогер, я журналист, и я называл вещи своими именами. Войну преступлением и людей, которые это сделали, преступниками. И как только я уехал, к моей маме тут же пришли из полиции. В России ты уже в опасности. Они в те дни начали хватать людей и присуживать им 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 лет.
In 2023, the Russian government introduced new laws that declared the LGBT movement an extremist organization. It led to thousands of Russians fleeing, many choosing the US for a new life.
Основание — это политическое убежище, в первую очередь, это принадлежность к ЛГБТ, но много фальшивых кейсов, поэтому, важно все, важно все.
Have there been people pretending to be a member of the LGBTQ community to be able to seek asylum?
Конечно, of course, yeah.
How hard was it to leave your family, to leave your home and your life in Moscow?
В тот месяц, когда я уехал из Москвы, Моя зарплата была, ну вот как человека, который известный, у которого все налажено, который живет на Арбате, имеет все, что он хочет. В тот месяц моя зарплата была около 10-12 тысяч долларов. Я делал просто их, потому что это я. Я в Лос-Анджелесе никогда до этого не был. Я был в Америке много раз, но как турист.
Are you ever able to go home, or at the moment is that not an option?
Я очень хочу поехать домой когда-нибудь. У меня осталась мама, мои братья и сестры, и мои родственники, и мои друзья. Я хочу быть в России тогда, когда я этого захочу, и не чувствовать опасность нахождения там. Россия — это моя родина, но мой дом теперь в Америке.
The issue of mass migration is huge for a country like the US, and will be a key factor in the 2024 US presidential election. And at the Texas state border with Mexico, the topic has become politically supercharged.
So this is the border wall that we're approaching
Yes.
now. Okay. And I can see some soldiers.
Yeah, so these soldiers
Got
are
ahead.
part of the Texas National Guard.
Okay.
That they were deployed by the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, as part of the Operation Lone Star. It's an effort from the state government to stop migrants here at the border,
Okay.
saying that Biden is not doing enough, the federal government is not doing enough. By that, they mean the Border Patrol. So they send reinforcements. The way they're doing that is that they put hundreds of miles of concertina wire, soldiers, so that way they stop the migrants that are trying to surrender to the Border Patrol.
This is very, basic understanding of going, Trump did too much, Biden is not doing enough.
On my personal opinion, neither of them did enough. There's a lot of migrants. So what they're trying to do right now is like stop them from even crossing the border. So what the Operation Lone Star is doing is put a fence right there at the river, so they don't have the opportunity to turn themselves to the Border Patrol. To ask for asylum, the right way to do it is show up at one of the ports of entry and say, I fear for my life, I would like to ask for asylum. That's in the Constitution, everyone can do that.
And that makes it, I guess, harder and longer and more arduous and dissuades people from doing it.
On the other side, they are controlling the asylum cases because it gets totally out of hand. Imagine more than 2,000 migrants asking for asylum at the same time. Those laws on the Constitution were made when sometimes you get one guy every 2 days, like, I would like to ask for asylum. But when you have 2,000 people per day asking for asylum, you need to do something. And that's what they did. So that's why there's a lot of militarization here in the border.
People look at immigration as a very black and white thing.
Right.
It seems that you want to greet people as humans.
The United States that I grew up in was a welcoming country. And, my biggest takeaway from this is that, everyone wants a secure border, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, and I agree with that. But that does not mean that we can't have a humane, logical immigration system and a secure border. We can have both things. We can have an immigration system that allows people to come in that in a way that helps the United States, the economy. We have like 9 to 11 million jobs that we can't fill. But we don't have a significant worker program, so why is that? I think what we need is more avenues for legal entry, and in a way that, again, helps the United States.
There wouldn't have to be so many people making a journey that was quite so dangerous and full of risk.
I cannot imagine being in a situation where I would put everything I own on my back in a backpack and grab my children by the hands and leave everything I know and everyone I know to try to make a better life for myself. I mean, it's not an insignificant thing.
Quite difficult to connect to it and to put yourself in that situation.
Yes.
And we've come across so many people with very young kids who have made that journey.
And I think that the United States has every right as to vet those people coming into their country, but that doesn't mean that we have to demonize and villainize everyone. No. It's just not right.
There is no easy solution to the migrant crisis here in El Paso or any other US border town. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. How does this situation affect you? What's your understanding of it? And what can be done about it?
This border has been in a lot of films. The films that I remember the most is one film that is called The Day After Tomorrow. Yes. Where
oh my God, Jake
the world is, the earth is entering this ice age. Yeah. And it's like a funny comedy scene because it is portrayed that people from the United States want to cross the border to Mexico. Yeah. Mexico has closed the border. And they're breaking the fence and everything, crossing to Mexico. Totally opposite that we saw.
This city is so friendly. It's so friendly. I've come across some really, really kind people. And it's beautiful. It's a really, really beautiful place. And I feel very, very lucky to be here. I love this view here. This view that's going on because it looks like it's one big city rather than there being any kind of border and separating it in two cities and two countries. It's just one rolling metropolis, which is really cool and a really nice way of looking at it.